Hello, everybody. You're watching the Smoking Hot Coffee Show. My name is Amol Patel. I'm in Los Angeles. We talk to startup founders. I'm joined with.
Hey guys, I'm Jeff Pelton down here in San Diego.
And today we've got an amazing interview with a couple of guys that have created a really awesome resource for those that are trying to learn about Meteor. And the site is called Discover Meteor.com. Jeff, tell us more about Meteor and about the framework and all that.
Yeah, so these guys have been working on the open source of this framework, and I'm kind of flipping through some of the pages real quick, but you can see Telesc.pe is one of the popular open source projects they've got built on. They're using Meteor as the technology, and so what it is I guess I can take a look at the demo. It's sort of a open source Reddit or HackerNews for designers, right? And so we talk about that in the interview, and so they found out that a lot of people had demand for what they were doing and the how-tos and the education part of it, so they decided to write a book.
Right. And a book and screencasts and interviews and basically breaking this training and this learning resource into different tiers for different pricing. I really love the fact that they had put up a landing page just to see if they got enough people to email or sign up for the email, because that gave them the indication, well, hold on, if only 3 people are going to sign up for this thing, maybe there's not a lot of people that are going to pay for us putting this thing together. But they got quite a bit of people signing up for it, and that got them excited, of course. Here, Jeff, as you can, if you look at the screen, we've got a $89 package, $159, and I think at the very top is their beginning
$39 package.
So you get the book, and then there's a members area and all that. So this is a great way of bridging that gap between maybe people that are developers that maybe have already learned a framework and maybe weary of learning the new hot thing, and so they've been in the trenches, they're doing it, so they put together a resource for people just like them.
Yep, no, we love this. I mean, we're totally about in the trenches, right? We talk about a little bit of our history, probably coming as designers and developers, getting into web applications and eventually building your own product, right? I think that's the goal here about the whole startup conversation. We kind of assume startups are always web apps because it's our sweet spot on the internet, is our kind of favorite thing. And so, this is our story about designers and developers coming through the trenches and using their own skills to apply it to build their own products. And that's my favorite thing, is building awesome products that we love to use.
Yeah, and to not work for the man to boot.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
so one of the great, if you watch this was a really great interview. Both of them were kind enough and gracious enough to spend a good amount of time with us, Jeff. They talked about how they met. They met working on the Meteor framework, building package managers or basically little components that help the Meteor community. And they met each other through IRC, and they started talking. And they figured, hey, you might as well team up.
Love it. Yeah, it's a really great story. Just love everything about it.
And Sasha, in my opinion, is one of those double, triple threats. He's not only a pretty good programmer and developer, but he's also a fabulous designer. I mean, I generally poo-poo the developers because their design skills are to be more than I would like. I'd like to see them design better, but people have their strengths. And when I saw Telesc.pe for the first time, which is sort of an open source project built on Meteor, I was struck by how beautiful the software looked. And talking to Sasha, he talked about his design skills and him teaming up with Tom, I think, is a great combination. Those of you guys are looking to look at the new hot framework. Meteor is definitely one of them, Jeff. If you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's definitely hot right now. I think we all want to spend less time programming, more time focusing on the product and the front end and the aesthetics of it for sure.
So tell us more about that, Jeff. What do you? So when you say front end, I know Meteor is basically front end and back end all in JavaScript, right?
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully there's some efficiency gained there and having less to do. We talk about where we were doing the same thing basically internet generation ago with Ruby on Rails.
Right.
All of the advantages and time saving and on and on. They're doing the same leaps and bounds with something like Meteor. They're really ambitious, and it's starting to pick up traction. They've got some funding, but it's still uncertain. We're not sure what's going to happen. But it is great to see it attracting designers, not just developers.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, these two guys have put together an amazing resource. If you're slightly interested in Meteor, please watch the interview. I think you're going to learn a lot. And, of course, check out discovermeteor.com. And, Meteor is, in many ways, kind of the next gen. It's got everything's real time. The way you even think about a product, if it's been used by several people all at once simultaneously, is a whole nother thing. And they talk a little bit about that. I have to tell you, Jeff, I think it's really exciting. I remember when I first saw the Meteor introduction video, I was just blown away how fast they were able to build this thing, and that it was all real time.
It's the same stuff that got you excited about Ruby on Rails. Yep. Anytime that it does the work for you and you can get to your end goal quicker, I think people are happy, and that's what Meteor is selling. I think the real time, what's nice is it's taking the next generation of JavaScript, Node.js, rather than just Rails or Ruby. Sorry.
Right.
So it's sort of the kind of forward-looking, faster, more real-time, better for applications like chat, collaboration, and real-time streaming.
Right, and we briefly also talked about the learning market or the education content market. I think obviously the hardcore developers, guys are looking at the new hotness, should definitely be looking at this. But there's also this huge interest now with learning how to code, with learning how to build simple web stuff. And I could totally see how this huge crowd that's starting to get into web design and web programming could really be one of a big market for them, and leapfrog all the old stuff and just get on the new hotness. And so we talked really briefly about that as well. So I think there's going to be a lot of really great stuff in there for any of you guys that are looking to stay on the edge. So please check out the interview and subscribe to our show on iTunes and on YouTube. We really need the subscribers. We look forward to everybody subscribing. That's the key metric I look at. And I know, Jeff, you're always looking at that, right?
Oh yeah, we are definitely a huge fan of our fans. Anytime you guys subscribe, that makes our day. It reminds us why we're doing this, and that every time we publish a video, you guys are gonna hopefully be watching. So it lets us know that we should keep making the videos.
And we're excited about the stuff that's going on with Smoking Hot Coffee. Where we do this thing live Monday through Friday, every afternoon at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Jeff, tell us more about what you have in mind for the live stuff.
Yeah, so you've got us scheduled with such a great lineup of guests for about the next month or so that we've decided we're going to put that schedule up on the website so that you guys can interact with it and let us know. If you see someone that's really interesting to you, maybe you have a great question that we hadn't thought of, and you want to let us know, that would really be helpful. As well as engage with the show live when it happens. It will be on smokinghotcoffee.com, where we also have a chat room so that you guys can interact with us, the guests, and yourselves, or each other, I should say, the startup community at large, which is what we're all about. So we're really looking forward to take advantage of the schedule and you guys' interaction with us in real time, because we are doing this every day. This is our daily grind, our startup grind, and hopefully you guys would like to tune in.
Yeah, so if you guys are remotely interested in getting funded, remotely interested in product design, remotely interested in viral hooks, viral loops, figuring out new ways of reaching different audiences, leveraging the Twitters and the LinkedIns and the Tumblrs, we try to extract all that value out of these guests.
Gmail plugins, Google Hangout plugins, and all sorts of different marketplaces and platforms and places to be and technologies to be aware of, and customer support and acquisition and all these things.
Absolutely. So please tune in 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to our show. With that, let's cut to the interview.
I was a Rails developer, doing web stuff. And doing a lot of front-end development, so I was pretty familiar with JavaScript, pretty comfortable with it, and became attracted to the idea of a JavaScript-based framework and probably a Node framework, because it just made sense. The more and more JavaScript that I was writing, the context switching between Ruby, which is a language I love, and JavaScript just started to get a bit annoying. Not being able to share code became annoying. Templates and stuff like that. So it was natural to I started to think about what Node frameworks I might use, and then when I heard about Meteor, I was like, yeah, that sounds good. And then I read a little bit about it, and I was like, wow, what an ambitious project. So I was really keen to try it out, and sort of when I got a chance, I did. I really liked it, and yeah, that was probably around a year ago. Ever since then, I've kind of been pretty into it, and as part of that, like, because when I started, the community was very new. There wasn't a lot of tools around, so kind of had to build a few things myself with the help of a few others, and ended up building Meteorite, which is sort of a package management tool for Meteor.
Okay.
And we made Atmosphere, which is a repository for such packages. Okay. And then along the way, I've made a few community packages that I guess are reasonably popular, specifically the router package.
Wow. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's my history, I suppose.
All right, Sasha, why don't you tell us a little about your background and where you fit in this big puzzle?
Sure. So for the past couple of years, I've been mostly working as a designer, but my background is actually originally more computer science. So I'm familiar with programming. And I've also been working, so on top of my client work, I've been working on a project called Folio, which is a Rails app.
Yeah.
It's a job board for designers.
Okay.
And I really agree with what Tom just said about context switching, because a big problem I had is that I would be, doing some JavaScript work for clients or front-end development, and then I would have to go back into Rails and, just remembering like where everything is and how everything works, since I was not like a full-time Rails developer, really slowed me down every time. So when it came time to choose a framework for my next project, I knew I wanted to try out Node, and at that time I happened to hear about Meteor, and it seemed like a really good way to get the benefits of Node with more of the modern web app stuff already built in. So that's kind of how I came upon Meteor.
So can you tell us real quick, what are some of the big advantages over using something like Meteor versus Ruby on Rails?
So for me, the big advantage is that I was never that familiar with Ruby as a language. I mean, I could be dangerous with it and code my way through implementing some features, but I wasn't really good at it or comfortable in it. On the other hand, JavaScript, since it's what I use all the time for, on every website, I've never had any problem with that.
Right.
Writing jQuery plugins, writing random JavaScript code. It's something I do every day anyway. So that was the big advantage for me.
Gotcha.
And then the second advantage was just, Meteor. I feel like Meteor now is where Rails was like a couple years ago, in the sense that they're trying to implement all the best practices right from the start. So.
Oh, okay.
It was good because I didn't need to worry about all this stuff, like how to build a single-page web app and how to make sure you're only transmitting data from the server to the client and not whole HTML templates.
Gotcha.
All that stuff. Basically, Meteor does from the start, and Rails you need to work a little bit to get there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it with Rails, but there's a real huge difference in philosophy between like framework like Meteor and a framework like Rails or Django or the more traditional frameworks. In that, it's a real-time framework. So the big difference is that rather than making requests, getting response back, and dealing with it, the data is constantly synchronized between your application, specifically your JavaScript code running in the browser, and the server and the database. And that like has a lot of implications. It basically, like, one of the huge advantages is that you don't really need to think too much about APIs. I mean, it seems like REST has really brought us, RESTful APIs have really brought us forward in the way that we do APIs and things like Rails apps, but you still spend a lot of time thinking about that API between your server and the browser, whereas in Meteor you almost don't even think about it because it's kind of automatic. And that maybe sounds a bit dangerous, but it's actually not, and it's really amazing. I mean, you just are able to spend more time thinking about your user experience.
Is it even
to me, like, that's the most important thing?
Okay. Yeah, of course. And we love, focusing more on the front end and the actual, product than the server side. Is it even fair to compare it to Ruby on Rails? Does it have if you're coming from Ruby on Rails, does it have that MVC sort of ability?
Well, it's very different.
Yeah.
In purely because you don't really think in terms of the server and preparing a web page. It's not the way. You think you can kind of think about it the same way on the client, that you're preparing a web page to display on the client, but because it's changing so much, it doesn't tend to be that same kind of, now we need this, now we need that kind of thing. And that's where the reactivity of Meteor comes into it. It's sort of smoothly changing a little more.
I want to kind of be a little devil's advocate here because I've been following Rails for a long time. Rails is at 4.0. The turbo links, all this other stuff is happening. Meteor's really hot. Is Froyo built on Meteor? I mean, would you trust Meteor for commercial type stuff, Sasha?
Oh yeah, I mean for Folio, like with the revenue that Folio brings in, it doesn't make a big difference if it crashes or.
Okay, so it's early days for you. Gotcha. Yeah. But what about a big site, guys? Is it too early still? Meteor, we got another year. What's your feeling?
I think we're getting close. Like I don't think that there are any big sites out there yet.
Okay.
There are probably sites in development at the moment. Will be big sites. I don't know the exact timing on it.
But there's teams working on commercial products.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm working on commercial products myself.
Yeah. Okay.
If we're talking like really, really big scale, like it's definitely not ready now. It may be ready in 6 months. So there may be companies at the moment who are thinking about that kind of time frame, but certainly for sort of medium scale projects, I think that's a reason.
Would you agree, Sasha?
Yeah, I think it also depends on the kind of project. For example, if you wanted to build a project management app for teams, it's definitely ready.
Yeah, like a Trello, for example. Remember Trello?
Trello. I think there would be no problem with that.
Okay.
On the other hand, like if you want to build Pinterest or a social network like this, maybe you'd run into scaling problems or a bit of problems due to the immaturity of the framework.
One of the big advantages for Rails being around for so long is, of course, the plugin community ecosystem. What's your feeling? Like, how's the plugin system? I'm not that familiar with Meteor. Is there a easy, fairly robust plugin type ecosystem already? Authentication and all that kind of thing.
Authentication is really easy. That's part of the core framework. They've really worked hard because it's really important because of the way the data is automatically synchronized. You need to be really careful about security in the way that works. So it's baked into the framework.
Okay.
In terms of third-party packages, like I said at the beginning, I actually built it. Well, me with a guy called Mike Bannister actually built a package manager because Meteor doesn't explicitly support third-party packages. It's sort of one of the features that they haven't gotten around to yet. And so we kind of filled that gap. So there is actually something like 300 packages on the Atmosphere repository.
Okay.
But there's a very long way to go before it's anything like the Rails sort of community of code. But I think that will come. I mean, certainly at this point, there are definitely rough edges that you hit where you're like, oh, no one's done this yet in Meteor.
Okay.
Which is exciting, but I guess from a commercial perspective, can slow you down a lot.
Real quick, for those of us that don't know, where can you host your Meteor app right now?
Well, the simplest way is you can host it directly on Meteor.com. They have a really cool feature where you can, with one line of code, deploy your app onto their site.
Okay.
Which is great. Which is great for little hackathons or just showing someone something or just testing how your app behaves with some latency. It's not really intended for production use yet. I believe the plan is for it to be used for production use eventually.
Okay.
But right now, if you do want to use Meteor for production, we'd probably recommend, and what we've used is Heroku for smaller apps, and then if you need to get more powerful, you need to do a more complex sort of S3, EC2.
Gotcha.
Amazon EC2 kind of load balance sort of thing.
Okay.
Right.
There are other options, of course, but they're the ones that we've had experience with.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
There's also a new service called Stackful, which is like Heroku for Node.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. Cool.
And I just mentioned them because they support Meteor, and they in fact use Telescope as their demo app, which is
very cool. Very cool. What's the URL on that?
Stackful.io.
FOLD or FOFLOW?
FUL, I think.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. All right, so as we've seen in the Backbone community and all these other JavaScript frameworks that are kind of popping up, and Meteor is one of them, I think. There's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. People are still trying to figure out who's going to be the horse that wins the race. Clearly, Meteor got a lot of money. I mean, they were one of the very few open source projects that got a ton of funding, which I think is huge. I mean, it's probably got a pretty good shot of maybe getting at least in the top one or two, one or two horses that might finally shake out. What is your feeling? You guys are there at in San Fran, with these guys, the guys that are behind this. What's your sense? How many people are on their team? Are they burning through a lot of money? Do you think they'll get to a point where they're going to make enough money from either training or hosting or something else to keep this thing going?
Well, my feeling is pretty good. I mean, their team, I think, what would you estimate, Sasha? I think there's about 10 to 15 of them now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that maps out in terms of burn rate, but I feel like when I first started, I mean, I've said this a few times. When I first sort of started on Meteor, I thought of all the Node sort of frameworks, it seemed the coolest, and I guess for that reason, the most likely to succeed.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Once they got the funding, like that was really
that was it. That sold it for you.
For me, but it was like there's 4 or 5 different frameworks, and this is just the most likely to succeed of them. That doesn't actually mean it's likely to succeede, right?
Right.
Mathematically, if you think about it. So it's sort of like, well, if I'm going to try one, it may as well be this one. Sorry, cat's walking in front of me. But now, after 6 months later, after making that kind of evaluation, I'm now at the point where it's just come forward in leaps and bounds. The community, a lot of people excited about it, and I don't know, it's hard for me to tell because I spend so much time in the Meteor community, but I feel like to some degree some of the other frameworks have fallen away a little bit. You don't hear about them.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much, but I have been getting consistent emails from the Meteor guys saying, we've added this, we've got the authentication working. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a big deal. They got that going. What do you think, Sasha, coming from the designer point of view? What's your feeling?
Well, what I was going to say is that, Meteor, the company is dedicated to Meteor, the framework. And most other frameworks, usually, like Airbnb, they came out with a Backbone framework, but it's not their main focus, and it's the same for a lot of these other frameworks. So I think companies like Meteor or like Firebase is another one that can really dedicate all their resources to one thing, to that framework, have a much better chance of making it.
Right.
How do they fit in with some of the other frameworks? Like you guys talk about some of them falling away. I mean, it's handling some of the client side as well, right? So what about things like Backbone, Angular, the other really hot front end,
Ember.
not just back end? Yeah.
That's a good question. Meteor and the development team, they're really ambitious. I think they kind of want to control the whole stack, or not control, but they feel like they have the best answer for the whole stack.
Right. Sure, they make choices for you, which is good, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, they like simple APIs, and I think that they're dissatisfied with a lot of the APIs that are out there. Having said that, I have looked at a few other things. I really do like Angular, and I think it's actually relatively simple to use Meteor with Angular.
Okay.
Theoretically, although I don't know how many people are doing it because there's not a great package for that.
That's the kind of thing I'm wondering, how much compatibility there are with that, those sorts of framework tools.
Well, I mean, because Angular is purely client-side and just about how the HTML changes as the data changes. And Meteor is everything from that as well, how the data synchronizes with the server, and then also what happens on the server. There's no real reason why you couldn't plug Angular in, and in fact, I know you can. I have done it, but never in a real project, more as just a proof of concept. But at the same time, the Meteor, like I said, the Meteor team think that their ideas of how client-side rendering should work are better or like are easier to use. So I feel like they want to get to the point where you don't have to use Angular. Well, you don't have to use Angular now, but they want to get to the point where it's better to use Meteor's rendering than Angular.
Gotcha.
But there's no reason that you couldn't, is I guess what I'm saying. If you talk about something like Backbone, though, that's getting into the parts of that Meteor is really like core to Meteor, like the data synchronization with the server, and it's just completely the way that Meteor does it to the way that something like Backbone does it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Sasha, what's your feeling with all these different frameworks, and have you investigated any of that stuff?
Not really. I'm really not an expert on other frameworks. Basically, Meteor is pretty much the first one that I chose, and I stuck with that.
Gotcha.
So,
hey, well, don't get me wrong, Sasha. I saw that early demo. It was very sexy. I mean, it was incredible, actually. And I was like, wow, this thing looks awesome. And then you kind of wait around. You wait around to see if anybody's really using it. And then you wait around for somebody to create the screencast. You wait around for the conferences. You wait around for the peep codes of the world, to start building all the materials. And then and so far it seems like you guys are the first ones out of the gate pushing, learning materials and paying, charging people for that, which I think is awesome.
Yeah. I was going to say real quick, too, the reason I asked about the components is because I love to see the front-end UI components being broken down and reused, and that's kind of some of the idea with Backbone, I think, but we haven't really seen a strong plugin library for them yet either. It's great to see that you're doing that with Atmosphere. I mean, even if it doesn't plug into some of the other ones, hopefully it'll go that way.
Yeah, my hope with that respect, with widgets or something on the client side, is that there will be like a universal, and it may not be it may be outside of Meteor, like some universal system of widget components. There are a few projects out there that are pushing that, and one of them being called Component, but none of them have really taken off really at all yet. Hopefully we'll see that, and I think if that were to happen and one of them was to become really popular, the Meteor team would go to great lengths to integrate it with.
To integrate that.
Like, in the same way that even though they have their own packages, they also have integrated NPM packages into their system. Yeah. So they do the same thing at the front end as well if there was a system that was a clear winner, which is not the case right now.
Gotcha. So tell us more about, you guys are selling this training. How's that coming along? You're doing the free copy. Give us some of the early. Have you guys gotten a pretty good email list going? How are you building that? Are you doing any? Are you doing any advertising, any partnerships, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So the first ever thing we did on that project is start a blog, or actually even before that, we put a email sign-up field on the Telescope landing page.
Okay.
And that was kind of our guide to judge interest and know if people, if there was something there.
Oh, very good.
People started signing up.
Yeah.
And the next step was launching a blog.
Awesome. So you did get a bunch of signups, and that made you guys feel comfortable. Yeah. Okay, let's invest the time.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Do you mind telling us how many did you get? A couple of thousand, a couple of hundred?
I think so. Initially, we got maybe about 1,000.
Okay.
Once we had around 1,000, we basically considered the idea validated, at least a little. So we started on the blog.
Gotcha.
So we did a couple of posts on getting started with Meteor, a list of useful Meteor resources.
Very nice.
Another thing we did is we did some guest posts.
Okay.
So we did a guest tutorial on NetTuts.
Okay.
And we also did one for .NET Magazine, but in their print edition. So.
Oh wow! Okay.
Really?
Like we did it months ago, but I don't even know if it's out yet.
Yeah! Wow! You got getting some .NET guys over.
Yeah.
I think it's coming out.
Not the .NET
I was thinking Microsoft.
Yeah, no. The magazine, there's a magazine called .NET too.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Wow, very cool. All right, so there was this guy Michael Hartle that put together the Rails 3, the social networking or Twitter thing, whatever. I remember spending $100 on that, and it was one of the very early sort of more comprehensive Rails tutorials out there. And he said he made a good amount of money from that. I remember watching a little video when he talked about the aftermath of that. So I imagine with 1,000 people signing up, you guys will probably clear a bit of cash out of this.
Oh yeah, I mean we're not sharing like hard numbers just yet, but I don't know how many sales we got. Like,
I think we're in the 800s sales.
Yeah.
Wow, 800 people already paid. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Wow. Congrats, guys.
So, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh well, by now we have more like 3,000 people on the email list. Like 1,000 was just.
Oh, that's beautiful. I have to tell you, you guys will become sort of the leaders in this framework, in this ecosystem as it grows. You guys are going to become the guys.
That's the plan, yeah.
You guys will become like the peep code, for Meteor, unless of course he decides to do Meteor. Of course, you never know.
So tell us about Telescope and how that's driving some of this. Like, how did you launch it to get popularity? How's it doing on GitHub, and how's that sort of whole relationship with the open source community been?
Yeah, that's great.
So I started Telescope about in September of last year, I think. And the reason I worked on that project is because I wanted to create something like a HackerNews for designers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool.
Because my blog posts were often popular on HackerNews when they were about coding or marketing, but if I was writing about design, people pretty much didn't care much for it. So
no upvoting there. Okay.
Yeah, no love for design.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So I said, hey, there's if people don't like my design post over there, why not create my own community?
Mm-hmm.
And there weren't really any good like HackerNews clone or Reddit clones out there yet, so I started working on my own. And I decided to make it open source just in hopes of that other people would contribute and help me with the project. And that's what happened, and that's how I met Tom.
That's awesome. Cool. So that's great. And so Tom, did you say, hey, Sasha's got something pretty good going on? Let me go ahead and join on, or how did that happen?
Yeah, well, I was just sort of in my reasonably early Meteor days, kind of looking for more projects to kind of get involved with and learn more about just how to do things in Meteor, because it's pretty exciting when you're doing things that haven't been done before, The real-time nature of Meteor means that, there are kind of new problems that you're not used to in general. And so when Sasha I guess he was asking me for help a lot on the IRC channels, and eventually, he kind of asked if I could sort of help out a little more, and then eventually we ended up, I guess, I made a significant contribution to it as much as it is Sasha's project.
Right.
Cool. And it was really great. It was just I really enjoyed some of the challenges involved, especially the UI challenges involved in having real-time data, because you don't really think about it until you get into it. But something even like a list of posts, it's a bit different when it can change in front of you.
Real time. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It changes the problems are so different to doing the same project in a more traditional framework where you render the list of posts once, and then if they hit refresh, it might be in a different order, but they'll expect that.
Right.
Whereas in something like Meteor, it could change at any time, and does the user expect that, and can you indicate that to the user in some way so they don't get confused?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, that was great fun.
So, Sasha, when did you decide, whose idea was it to put this material together, to start selling it? Who came up with the germ of the entrepreneurship part?
I don't really remember. I think it was a common idea because, basically we spent a lot of time on Telescope, and we also learned a lot building it, so we felt that, if we could write a book or come up with some material about that, first of all, we would reinvest all that material we learned and be able to make a living out of it, and also we would be able to share all that with the rest of the community.
Right.
So it just seemed like the natural thing to do.
Jeff, how do you feel about that? I mean, you being an open source hacker, do you feel like they should be sharing it all freely, or how do you feel about these guys charging people for it?
No, it's great. I mean, I think, I definitely bought, so before I jumped into Node with both feet, I was a PHP guy, and my framework that I picked was Symfony, which isn't like a huge favorite over here on the coast, but it served me really well. And I know it's a tough decision, and it's something that you like are using day in and day out. But yeah, when I jumped in, I bought the book. They had a manual, and that the guys who wrote it, I think that wrote the framework, put together. But it was well worth the $20-30, whatever I paid for that in print. So that I could have a full understanding. I felt like I wasn't out of my depth, at least to get me bootstrapped to get going into it. So. I think that's exactly where the support, where it should be.
Gotcha. So you're willing to pay for print as long as the online is free?
Oh, I don't know. I'd pay for the online too, but
okay.
in that instance, gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think I printed it. I had another copy in a binder, like at the office, but I certainly bought the first one, even in support of it in general. But I think it really does make sense to have an educational piece go with it.
Okay. Gotcha. I love the fact you guys are selling it. I think it's awesome. I hope. Are you guys going to come up with some videos? Is it just print or screencasts or?
Oh, we actually have screencasts. So.
Oh, you do? Okay.
You probably know Event in Mind. Well, if you know Meteor, you'll fall on Event in Mind sooner or later because it's one of the best resources for Meteor screencasts. So. Chris Matter from Event in Mind is helping us do some screencasts for the book.
Cool.
Very cool.
The book, we actually have 3 packages, and so the screencasts are for the middle and the top package.
Oh, very cool. Let's check out the pricing grid here, Jeff. So $39 for the main package, full edition. Let's see here, and. All right, you got the screencast. Oh, awesome!
Everything.
Yeah, that's great. $89. Oh, I like that. I like that. Right underneath. Then you got 159. Let's check. Let's scroll down. Let's see what's in the premium. We've got full edition, extra screencast, interviews, and case studies. Okay, 159, guys. That's that is right on the tipping point. If you guys could keep that under $100,
it's got case studies though, Mo.
It does have case studies. Maybe you can get them in for the $89 and then upsell them later on, possibly.
Well, even though the top package isn't even fully available yet. I mean, you get everything in the medium package in the top package, and I think we have 1 interview and 1 screencast at the moment of the top package.
Yeah. Okay,
it's loaded already. A lot of people are buying that top package, more than I expected.
Is that right?
Yeah, so I think people they're either just really keen to get their hands on whatever they can, or perhaps they're really interested in supporting us.
This is great, guys. I really hope you guys never have to take on any client work. You're done with clients. This is it. This is really great. It's exciting actually because it's a very cool framework, and I don't see a lot of screencasts out there. Maybe there are. But I'm glad you guys are throwing your hat in. And what I found is they tend to be written by developers, and the examples are developer looking. Obviously, Sasha, you're a Proximo Nova lover. So am I. And I love the fact that you got a lot of color, you got a beautiful design aesthetics, and that's big for me. So
yeah, for me too. I think it's very important, and sometimes it's just also a chance to have fun with the design once I've spent like my whole day writing Meteor code and writing tutorials. So
yeah. I mean, no hit against Michael Hartle, but the Twitter clone that he made was it was kind of bland looking, didn't look all that great. And every time I open up Telescope or any of the other ones that you've got, it's a beautiful design. They're really lovely. So
makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Oh, it makes a huge difference. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when you're trying to get people from the open source community to join on, with the first impressions, everything.
Yeah, or the Rails designer snobs out there, and they don't want to, if it doesn't look cool, I don't want to do this,
right.
So, yeah. So, all right. So, when is the big version coming out? It says coming soon. What does that mean?
Yeah, when is the white dwarf package gonna be available?
Yeah, when is that going to hit?
Well, yeah, we're working on that right now. What we'll probably do is just, as soon as we have a new material, we'll upload it and we'll make it available. So, yeah, like Tom said, we already have one screencast and one interview up there. And, you know, as time goes by, we'll just add it as soon as we can.
Cool.
Gotcha.
Are you starting to get feedback from the people buying the book? I mean, they've got to be students and going through this educational process of their own. I'm sure they reach out to you and say, hey, I'm stuck, or can you help me, or this is great, or how's the feedback been? Or has there been feedback at all?
Yeah, there's been a lot of feedback, really positive mostly. People have pointed out a lot of typos as well, and there's been quite a few questions, of detail on exactly how this works or how to do this. We've built into our book application links into Discuss, so there's kind of a conversation around each chapter.
Great.
Okay, that's cool. That's great.
People are starting to help each other out a little bit, which is good to see as well.
Very cool.
Awesome.
It's actually been, the response has been much stronger than I expected. There's been a lot of, I feel like every day I'm replying to probably 10 or 20 emails from people asking questions. Or
yeah, I bet someone couldn't buy the book without emailing you a question on top of it. So,
what if you guys really start selling this thing and then you get inundated with support? Maybe you guys should start charging for that.
That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, you're building a community of Meteor developers here.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully people will start helping each other. I mean, that would be ideal.
You know what would be ideal is if you guys create a job board out of this and start making some money here, guys.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah, I've tried job boards before, and they're not. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but it's not that easy to make money with them.
Okay.
So far the book is like an order of magnitude more profitable than probably doing its whole.
I know. It's tough. It's tough. Listen, we had the number 4 guy from Odesk on yesterday, and that was back in 2004, and he had to still get on the phone to talk to the buyers, not the service providers, but the buyers, to try to get more buyers on the system.
More projects.
Obviously, it's 2013 now. The market is the competitive market is totally different. But I think for something that's really, really niche, like developers that are into Meteor, you never know, it could work.
Yeah, maybe one day, maybe when the sort of profile of Meteor is slightly higher and people are starting to really ask for people to do work in Meteor. I think at this point it's still pretty early on in the process.
Gotcha.
What do you think it's going to look like? I mean, down the road a little bit here, if Meteor is pretty idealistic and it's pretty awesome. We've got designers building web apps, right? Is there going to be a need for developers down the road? Isn't that the point finally, to get rid of all the cumbersome, authentication crap that no one, salting our passwords and, worrying about this stuff when we don't want to?
I just think like anything computerized, as soon as you make something easier, you just erase the standard of everything, and people just start putting their efforts into more interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So why are there tens of thousands of developers out there sweating the details of OAuth with Google? Like, what a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, one guy at Meteor does it once and solves that problem, and we all just think about other things.
Yeah.
I think there's still a big gap between, the web apps that you can do with Rails and that most people come out with, and things like Asana or Facebook that have huge teams which build their own in-house frameworks.
Right.
And I think I talked with Matt about that, and that's the gap that they want to bridge. So, developers will still be just as needed as before, but the quality of their output will be much higher.
Yeah.
At least that's the plan.
Need fewer of them.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's the most dynamic Meteor app you guys have seen? Your demo app is pretty cool. It uses some real-time functions, I'm assuming. Are we mainly seeing MVC stuff, or what are example apps and some of the extremes? Use cases, like common use cases that people are using it for?
I think most of the ones I'm seeing, even though Meteor is real time, they're not like necessarily super based around real time. I mean,
it's a shame.
Yeah.
I think that this will happen, but I think the real time side of Meteor at the moment is mostly just making existing things a little bit better, in the same way that we think Telescope is sort of like HackerNews, but a little bit better in that.
Okay.
Gotcha. You get is, but it's not necessarily the main selling point of the app.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are people doing stuff out there. I'm just kind of running through my mental list of Meteor apps that I know about. Sasha, can you think of anything?
All right.
Yeah, as of now, I'm not sure, but like the kind of app that I envision is like dashboards, real-time dashboards for
Real-time dashboards. Yeah. Yeah.
like I had a client for design who managed races, like run marathons and stuff, and they have all this data that they need to show like how many people have completed the race, you know, where people are on the map. So I think Meteor will be really good for that kind of application.
Gotcha. Live events definitely sounds like
a lot
sporting
of
maybe.
UI stuff, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
How about like
I
a
definitely
WordPress killer? You know, or
see-
you know, big
but see,
happy
Jeff,
open source project.
I have to tell you, Jeff. I know you bring up the WordPress thing. Honestly, not every app really does. Does every app need real time? Maybe is real time that much?
Well, you guys
that
mentioned
useful?
HackerNews, but a little better. You know, what about WordPress, but a lot better?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the next, like, the thing that does kill WordPress will be like different. You know, it won't just be WordPress. You know, implemented in a better framework and you know, easier to code in, because WordPress has such a big lead. I think it'll be WordPress, but the commenting is built in and it's completely real time. And you know, I mean, that would be the Meteor answer to it. You know, it's completely real time. You can see who's viewing a post as they're viewing it. You know, these kind of features that are very difficult to implement with a traditional framework.
Yeah,
I guess I kind of have a different perspective on that, because so for the book's landing page and the book's blog, we've been using Middleman, and Middleman is a static site generator, basically like Jekyll.
Okay.
And I really liked it. It really made me want to quit WordPress forever, because it's just so much simpler to deal with static files. So I wonder if the WordPress killer is not just plain markdown files with no real time, no database, no comments, no users, just text.
Yeah, just basic. Yeah, I have to tell you, Jeff and guys, I really wonder. I know it's sexy. Real time is sexy, but I think sometimes some apps don't need the real time. Maybe it's overkill. I don't know. That's just my feeling.
It possibly is, but like, remember, that's not the only advantage of Meteor. Like, that might be what brings you to the framework initially, that it's sexy in real time. But the truth is, it's a lot easier to develop in Meteor. It's so much, because you don't have to worry about things that you do need to worry about in most frameworks, traditional frameworks, most of the time. And the APIs are very simple, and it's been designed from the ground up to be really easy to use. So not only is it really easy for someone who's less technical to get started in and get off the ground in and build a web app in for the first time, it's also, like, for experienced developers, so much quicker to get sites going. I'm working on an app at the moment, and we've been scaffolding, sort of building out like a designless version of the site, and it's just flying by. Like, it's already pretty functional, and it's been like 2 weeks, and it's just really,
Holy cow.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want to be able to build fast, you know, and try things quickly.
Exactly. It's perfect for entrepreneurs, for startups that want to MVP things and see.
You know, so let's quickly step back again with your product here. So you've got the landing page. You did the guest posts, and you've got a little bit of obviously you've got the 3,000 people on the list. What have you guys found? Are you guys gonna keep emailing? Today I got an email from you guys saying you'll offer, I think, Chapter 4 for free or whatever. Are you guys gonna keep every 2 or 3 weeks give us a little piece, another nugget to try to get people to convert, or what do you guys got in store here for us?
Yeah, basically, so we're not gonna offer all the book for free.
Okay.
But yeah, we want to keep people interested and at the same time help people get started on their own. by providing free resources.
Okay.
So, like from a pure marketing point of view, it's
honestly, Sasha and Tom, what do you think is like the biggest, like, for me, knowing Rails and a little bit of the Java, jQuery and all that, my biggest hang-up is like, oh man, do I really want to learn another framework? Do I really want to go through all that pain? If you guys could find a way to get me to just play with something for like 5 minutes online, that might get me enough to say, all right, now if you want to play with the next 10 minutes, here's a big button, just PayPal, like bang. All right, now you know what I mean. You almost have to get a guy hacking and getting excited to get him into that impulsive mode. I mean, honestly, I don't know if you guys have thought about what is the barrier to.
I think it's a great point, although I think that like screencast on the Meteor website that they've had up there for a long time sort of does that to some degree. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, I have seen it. It's very sexy.
You kind of go, oh my god, you can do that in 5 minutes.
Right. No, you're right. That is really hot.
It's a good point that you make, but I think that see, when we started to write this book, we kind of said, like, out there's those screencasts, and they're great. Like, for a complete beginner to the framework, they're awesome. They get you, like, you kind of understand where they're going with it, and it gets you excited, and that's good. And then after that, there's like the API docs, which are quite complicated and hard to understand. And between those two things, it's just there was nothing, and that was the whole trying to fill. And I hope we've done that. That was our aim.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's enough interest being driven from the community alone, and we'll, if we hop on HackerNews or something, it's probably just gonna, it's there's a buzz about it because it's a great tool.
I think it was a really good marketing move on their behalf, like in terms of where they put the effort, to put a lot of effort into that particular, like, very first experience of someone sees when they hear about Meteor. I think that really worked, and that's why, a post on HackerNews with Meteor in the title will just fly up. There are a lot of people who heard of it and are excited about it, but don't really know that much about it. And I think that's screencast. All those couple of screencasts they have now are a big part of that.
Sasha, where do you think a lot of your early users are going to come from? Do you think there are going to be a lot of ex-Rails guys jumping on board, paying for this thing? What's your feeling?
Yeah, so I feel there's like maybe 3 markets. First of all, there's the market of the Meteor community itself. Okay. So people like us who have already been hacking with Meteor for the past 6 months or even 1 year.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously a good market for us, but at the same time, maybe it's people who already know a lot of the material that's in the book.
Okay.
So we're also focusing on the second market, which is, like you said, Rails developers, Node developers.
Yep.
And so for them, the barrier is like, do I want to learn another framework?
Yeah.
And I guess our answer to that would be, just spend 1 hour. In 1 hour with Meteor, you can already know if it's for you or not, because it's really fast to get started.
I like that. 1 hour. Just give us 1 hour. Ooh, I like that.
Okay. And the last market, which is the one that I personally find the most interesting, is people who don't code, or front-end.
Yes. Love that one.
And I mean, if you're a designer, you already do HTML, CSS. Maybe you do a little bit of jQuery for your sliders or plugins, whatever.
Right.
Going from there to Meteor is not such a huge leap. I mean, sure, it won't be easy, but as compared to learning Rails or even PHP,
this is great, guys.
Much easier.
Yeah, this is great. So if you guys could get like the Smashing Magazine as a partner, or some of these other guys as partners, and say, we're going to give a free webinar and just get them all in there, or a hangout, and get them excited, and then push them towards the product, I could see this. Forget about the ex-Node guys or the ex-Rails guys. Get some of these newer guys that kind of want to jump, leapfrog over all the old stuff and get on the new hot sexy. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's how, we were all there at one point, I think. We were all, non-developers, and at least me, right? Like, I was actually at computer science school and, like, learning Java and, like, running in fear because it wasn't anything web. Yeah. So basically, I picked up Symfony as my tool, and, you got to have something for that, and you want the easiest, most robust, best use, practices. For me, I looked at Symfony. They were taking the best of Ruby on Rails for PHP at the time. Saving, time saving writing code for you and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely crucial and a really motivational thing to come from front end. Not have the baggage of the back end and the server and the coding, and you just want to build cool shit. You don't really care what language it's in. You just want to learn the fewest languages possible and get it done as quick as possible. I think So I think it's great to go after people that are not programmers. It's never been easier than now.
Honestly, guys, I think that could be a huge win for you guys. You guys will be driving your pimp ass Lambos after that. Trust me. That is the big market. If you guys can crack that nut, guys, it's going to be awesome. I don't know how, but you guys got to get smashing. You guys got to get the pure web design part, the non-programmer guys to get excited. Because we do get excited, but you're like, oh, man, there's a lot of if statements, and there's a lot of SQL, and
line or whatever.
Yeah, or the command line, exactly.
Where to host it, or maybe it's all getting easier.
Yeah, the hosting piece. Yeah, that's always a pain in the ass, setting up all that crap. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry, we're working on that. So.
Yeah, the other thing that I was thinking, just to throw out there, when you mentioned there may not be any whiz-bang demo apps besides your own so far, maybe there needs to be a hackathon. Like you said, you can whip something together so fast. We need to get some creative minds together and put together some fun apps.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you guys...
There are things out there. I'm probably just not an expert on everything Meteor that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you guys feel about the Google Hangout? What do you guys think of this technology as a way to try to push products like Meteor, or try to do like screen sharing and all that? What's your feeling with that, guys? Do you have any opinions?
I personally really like Google Hangouts. I've been using them for a couple months now, and it's great. Yeah, I mean, are you talking about using Google Hangouts for Meteor stuff, or recreating something like that?
You guys might even have instead of a white dwarf, maybe you have a green dwarf package where we get access to you guys for $200, and you guys get on Hangout. I would love that. I would love that, and you guys can give us access to a URL, and you guys are building something, and we can see you doing stuff real time, and maybe hack with you, or pair program, or quad program, or 10 to 1 program. I don't know if that's even possible.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I think we sort of talked about that. Maybe not with the Google. I guess the Google Hangouts makes it really easy to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what we've been trying to explore it for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a thought, if you guys are thinking that way. I think having access to you guys, having it be a regular, like a time, almost office hours, kind of thing, where you guys are there and we can check in and
have you guys seen any other really cutting edge tools out there? Like another thing that's popping to my mind, you guys wrote a book, but of course it's about programming. There's got to be a lot of interactivity to it. I haven't logged in or seen, what you guys have besides the screen sharing you mentioned. Are there other tools out there like what was it? ACE, like collaborative code editors, things that are pushing us forward into like actually collaborating through the web browser. And I mean, it would be built on tools, ironically, like, the real-time communication.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we've thought really hard about. We've built our book app, which I mentioned earlier, which is basically just a static site with some minor extra features.
Mm-hmm.
We've built it in Meteor with the view that it could be extended and taken to that kind of level in the future. I mean,
sure.
we were focusing on getting the book out, so we didn't put a lot of work into the book app. But it's definitely something we've talked a lot about doing in the future, adding the ability to use something like an online IDE, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
and even have it like, the app that you're building is connected to the book app, so that you type it into the browser, you type your code into the browser, and you can see your app building in the browser, and at the same time the book is like telling you what to do.
So that's awesome. Yeah, that's what we need. Oh, guys, you guys got to get that. That's the Green Dwarf package, $300.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you guys
3
are thinking about it. I've been watching some of the, Cloud9 or whatever the Ace Edit. I use Ace Edit for just editing. I haven't built in the collaborative piece yet on my app, but I'm waiting for that to just become a de facto and for people to kind of start trying it out.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that'd be a great
What's your
interactive
feeling
piece
about-
for a book too.
Yeah, what's your feeling about that, Sasha? You guys going to do an all-in-one browser version maybe one day?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna, go step by step. So, for example, the first cool feature I'd really like to add is annotations. So, like on Medium, you can leave a comment on each paragraph.
Right.
So that would be very cool for the book, because right now we have chapter by chapter comments, and it's not as people need to say, hey, in this, when you say this,
Sure.
you should say that. And if people could just point to the paragraph they want to comment on, it would be a much better user experience.
Right. No, that makes sense.
All right, so another programming question real quick. Let me put you on the spot. What's your text editor for Meteor of choice?
Oh, good question.
For me, it's Sublime Text 2.
Sublime, yeah.
I'm still using TextMate.
Still another TextMate user. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, TextMate 2 is pretty good. I like it. I mean, it's obviously seems to change every couple of days, but at least it's better than TextMate 1. I mean, TextMate 1 was awesome, but it didn't get any awesomer for a long time, and that was kind of frustrating.
That's funny. So, Tom, how come you haven't switched over to Sublime yet? I mean, why still stick with TextMate?
I just don't like the look of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm an OS X guy, and I just like all my apps to look like they're OS X.
It's funny you say that. I tried Sublime and TextMate, but I keep using Coda. I love the way Coda looks.
Yeah. I love Coda. Don't get me wrong, but
God, I love the way it looks. The font,
I guess it didn't have quite the features that I
know.
In my bare minimum, so I never really took it further than going, oh, that looks great.
Right.
Cool. I had to ask.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, Sasha, you're a big fan of Sublime, all the packages and all that? Is that your big win?
Not really. I don't use a lot of features.
Oh.
I guess I just didn't like TextMate because of the undo.
Okay.
I never liked the way that worked, I think.
Okay.
Or there was a reason like this while I switched, but
Cool.
Gotcha.
I'm not very attached to my text editor. So.
Oh, you're not?
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I just checked. Well, developers usually are way more attached, but I'm a huge fan of doing everything I possibly can in the web browser. So you guys should check out the Ace editor, I think it is. There's another one like Code Mirror, are a couple open source projects that have some pretty robust like code editors in the browser that can just like upgrade a text area, which is nice. But
Right.
cool.
And they just sync to Dropbox or something? Is that how they work? Or?
No, it's open source. Like you can just you can implement it in any project. Like take a text field and just make it a text area. So there's someone who does have a full-on IDE for Node and stuff. I think the cloud one. Yeah, it's cool. I like anytime I can push this stuff into the web browser. It makes me happy because then I switch from my Mac to my Ubuntu machine and it's all the same.
Yeah.
Keeps me portable.
All right, Sasha, so I got a business question for you. So I've looked at Folio, sorry.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of your, the history with that, why you created it. Are you making any money with it? If you're not, where do you think you may have made some missteps? Where do you see it going? That kind of thing.
So I started Folio about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And basically, like a lot of designers, I wanted to transition out of client work into products or finding a source of passive income.
Okay.
So Folio was my idea to achieve that.
Sounds great to me.
And just to sum up briefly, the concept of Folio is that there's a list of about 500 designers, which I've all approved individually.
Wow.
Awesome. So there's a vetted community.
Yeah.
You've vetted them. Okay.
And if you're a startup or you're looking for a designer, you can just pay $100, and that will send your project to all designers.
Okay, so you are making the people that want to hire pay, not the designers pay.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. The reason for that is if you make the designers pay, I mean, good designers who already get a lot of job offers, they will never subscribe, they won't pay.
Okay,
but then you end up with crappy designers. Right.
Gotcha. Okay, so you got 500 designers. Good. So you got the chicken problem, or maybe the egg. How do you get the other side? How's that coming along?
So yeah, that was always the hard part. I guess so. The main problem with photo right now is simply that I haven't worked a lot on it in the last, almost the last year. So it's pretty much been on autopilot.
Okay.
And so obviously it's not going to explode if nobody's taking care of it.
Okay.
So it does bring in a little bit of revenue, like maybe about $1,000 a month.
Oh wow, that's great.
Maybe a little, it depends on the month, but
Something.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, right now I've partnered up with a developer.
Okay.
Because before that I was maintaining it by myself.
Right.
So now there's two of us. Hopefully it will be enough to get more momentum and get it back on track.
Nice.
Wow, that's great. So how did you end up getting some of the early people to pay to get access to the marketplace? Was it all PPC? Did you do any advertising? Did you do content Okay.
Well, I tried advertising once, but I think for something like Folio, it's not an impulse buy. So if I wanted to do advertising, I would really need to advertise for a long period of time so that the people see the ad at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the funds to do that, so I never really advertised. So
hold on, I want to ask you. So obviously, buy-sell ads is one of the big networks for the design community and developer blogs and stuff. Did you guys use them, or did you use Google, or which
I used Influ Ads, which is another network similar to buy-sell ads.
Yeah, yep, I've heard of them. Yeah, and what were they, like $300, something like that?
Yeah.
And you're saying you went ahead and plunked down the money, but you weren't getting the return.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's hard to know. I don't think it did anything. I mean, nothing that I could track, at least.
Okay. Okay.
But like, as far as marketing goes, I'm a believer that you should, play to your own strengths. So if you're an ad guy, you should use ad. But I really like to write and design, so that's what I try to do.
Okay.
And I focused a lot more on content, blogging,
right.
And also like I did a few like special pages with a nice design, like guides, how to hire a designer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the blog.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
So go back to that, Jeff.
So here's the guides
we got
page.
guides.
That's great that you add content like that.
How to pick, how to write a good job description. Yeah,
exactly.
Very nice. Okay, did you reach out to some of the more all the other bloggers to try to get them to link to it, or how'd you promote these?
Well, I guess that takes us back to the root of like the beginning of the conversation about Telescope, is because some of these articles were really successful on HackerNews. Like there's one maybe on the prices of design, and one about how to pick a designer.
Yeah.
So HackerNews was a great source of traffic for that.
Okay.
But on the other hand, the articles that are about design, never got picked up on HackerNews.
Right.
So
it didn't. Yep.
For that, what I actually used to do is post them on Dribbble.
Yeah, I was going to ask what your feelings are with the other, when you said there was no design thing for HackerNews, what about Dribbble and the other,
Yeah.
Well, Dribbble is kind of like HackerNews, but it's graphic, it's visual, so you need to post a thumbnail of your work or something.
Exactly, yeah.
I ended up doing illustrations for each of these blog posts I wanted to post.
That's awesome.
On
That's great. So basically, these are images of the of textual content almost.
Exactly.
Oh wow. Okay.
Interesting.
But that's where the designers hang out. I know I spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah. So is that working, or are the designers picking up on that stuff, or you still had to bring it to Telescope? Yeah.
Well, it kind of works, but the problem is if your article is really good, but the illustration you do is really crappy, nobody will upvote or like it.
Check it out. Yeah.
So Dribbble is not a good platform for that. It was never made for that, which is why I created a sidebar.
Okay.
So sidebar is the project I built off Telescope.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, sidebar is much more effective than Dribbble ever was to advertise that time.
I have to tell you, I've been checking out Sidebar, and the links that you're sticking up there are really great, really well curated. Are you the guy that's putting them up there, or is this having the community that you've vetted?
So Sidebar, the way it works is there's about 60 people, like 60 core members.
Okay.
And they can submit links, and after that, every morning I pick my 5 favorite out of the ones that have been posted that
very
day.
Cool.
Awesome.
Very cool. Good. And how's the traffic been on Sidebar? Where are you at these days?
It's pretty good. I think I have about 1,000 visitors a day. Maybe.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome. And how long have you been doing this?
About 6 months.
Okay.
Although, like the past 3 months, we've been focused on the book, so I haven't really worked on it.
Right.
But what I track is not so much the traffic as the newsletter subscribers.
Okay.
And I have 12,000 subscribers.
Awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I really
that's a huge...
love your interface here. I'm signing up, and I see you have every day, twice a week, and once a week.
Yeah, that's actually pretty
how's
clever.
The breakdown?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's huge to give people control over how often they want to consume it.
So I'm going to tell you a secret: is that if you pick twice a week, you'll still only receive it once a week because it's actually lazy to actually send it twice a week.
Yeah, actually once a week is good.
Yeah.
Every day it might get too much. You get annoyed maybe even.
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good question, Jeff. How are most people doing it every day, once a week? What are you seeing?
I think
they sign up. Is it
it's
most
about 50-50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more people might be signed up to the daily edition.
Okay.
But it's about pretty equal. And I guess there are some people signed up to the twice a week edition, but they just end up receiving it once a week like everybody else.
So Sasha, we talked to a lot of startups and a lot of founders, and obviously focus, and every day you only have 16 hours when you're awake to when you have to go to sleep. Like this putting Meteor together, the book with Tom, that's been consuming a lot of your time. Do you see Folio as something you want to still focus on, or would you rather just maybe find somebody else to partner with and just let it run on the side? Are you going to go back to it now? Where are you at nowadays?
That's a really good question, and it's something I'm asking myself right now, in fact, because obviously it's hard to focus on multiple projects at once, and it's something like I've always been working on many projects at the same time, and I think it's hurt me a lot.
Yeah.
So for the book, for example, I really switched off all my other stuff, and it was much more effective and also less stressful.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Basically, if the book and Sidebar can keep running by themselves, I'll focus back on Folio at some point. But if not, I'll probably try to either just keep it on autopilot for now, or find somebody else to take the reins on that.
So you might, or what I'm hearing is you may consider flipping it on Flippa or something at some later date, maybe even.
No, I wouldn't do that.
All right.
No, never. Because there's already a community, and I don't want to just sell their emails to somebody.
Okay.
So Tom, tell us, where are you guys going to go with this book? You're going to keep adding some chapters and some more screencasts and some more media to it. What happened? Like, when's version 2 going to come out? When's the API going to change? What's going to happen? What's your roadmap for the book?
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
That's a good question. I mean, the thing about the book is, in a sense, it was really needed, but in another sense, it was premature because Meteor as a framework hasn't hit 1.0. They make no promises about the API.
Yeah.
So, we kind of made a commitment that as the API changes, we'll keep updating the book up until that 1.0 point when the API stabilizes and it makes sense to sort of say this is finished.
Oh, great.
I mean, at that point, may even print a physical copy of the book.
Awesome.
I'm not sure.
Of course. Yeah, you might be able to get O'Reilly or somebody to even publish it. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I'm not sure when exactly that point will be.
And listen, Michael Hartle, whenever they come out with a new Rails version, he charges, I think, sometimes. So you guys may be able to, possibly make a little bit of extra money there that way.
Yeah.